G'day guys, welcome back to Hoskins Hikes, and today we're talking about the Nemo Tensor Mummy Insulated, the 2022 model. The Mummy version of the Nemo Tensor is 51 centimeters wide. It is 183 centimeters tall, and it weighs 405 grams just for the mat itself on my scales. They have it claimed 410 grams just of the mat itself. We're going to break down all the weights that's contained within this bad boy right here. The sack, the Velcro, the things all in here, all together on my scales, this was 481 grams. Now, the stuff sack for the Nemo Tensor weighs on my scales roughly 12 grams. Inside the stuff sack is the repair kit, just inside this little pocket here, which is a sweet little feature inside the stuff sack. However, I'm not going to use that. The repair kit I keep inside my first aid kit. You can keep it wherever you want, but of course you definitely need to take that with you. That's about 4 grams. And then here's the Nemo Tensor Insulated Mummy. You've got a Velcro strap around the entire outside. That weighs 4 grams. Take that off. This is the Nemo pump sack. Now this is a big pump sack. I'll show you this a little bit later, but this pumps up the mat super fast. And then here we have the mat itself. Why I'm still talking about all this jazz, as I said, 401 grams for the mat, 405 grams, sorry, for the mat. For the pump sack was 55 grams. Now the pump sack that Nemo uses is only a pump sack, it is only that. So I use a Cedar Summit XT Etherlite insulated mat, and that not only comes with its own stuff sack that doubles as its pump sack, but I also use a 20 litre dry sack from Cedar Summit, which has a really sweet attachment at the bottom, which turns that into a pump sack. So the entire sack becomes a dry bag. So as of yet, I don't know if you can get Nemo dry sacks that double as a pump sack, but I hope they do. Yep, that's all I've got to say about that. So the reason I went looking for a second mat wasn't because I wasn't happy with the Cedar Summit Etherlite XT Insulated. XT of course stands for extra thick. I've got the large model. Now the large model I have is 625 grams and has an R value of 3.2. Now R value is a little bit tricky, but let's just wrap it up specifically for Australia, more specifically for Perth. So R value 3.2 pretty much should get you anywhere you want to go in almost every condition. So they call that a 3-season pad in Perth. I mean, it's very rare for us to get what they really call winter anywhere else in the world, but we do get 0 and even sub-zero temperatures when you're out on the trail, on the Mundabiddy, on the Bibbulmun, you know, in the Great Southern in general. So the 3.2 mat that I've got from Cedar Summit is a brilliant mat, except just in those 0 or sub-zero conditions, I have felt it creep in, cold getting sucked in from underneath the mat. Now you can combat this in one of 2 ways. You can get an insulating layer on the bottom of your mat, so you can use a super light foam pad under that, or you can even use like an emergency blanket, you know, ultra thin foil on the bottom there. But I needed 2 mats because there's going to be 2 of me out on the trail pretty soon. I mean, not 2 of me, there's only 1 of me, but you know, me and a significant other. We're going to be hitting the trail, so I needed to get 2 mats anyway. So I opted for the Nemo Ultralight Insulated Mummy version, the 2022, because it is 4.2 R value, and as I said, this is super light. I'll be using this mat because it's a little bit less thick than the Cedar Summit. This is a 3-inch pad. The Cedar Summit is a 4-inch pad. This is of course a little less wide than the large pad from Cedar Summit. This is what they call a 20-inch pad, which simply means it's 51 centimeters across the shoulders, whereas the Cedar Summit that I've got, the large, is 64 centimeters across the shoulders, which equates to a 25-inch pad. So love that pad, brilliant pad. I use it. If I didn't need to get another pad, I wouldn't. But in this case, I did, and I'm scaling back down. So I'm losing 250 grams of weight, and I'm gaining a whole R value. So this should take you down to about -10 degrees of air temperature. And of course, ground and air temperature are going to be different, but that's roughly what you're looking at in an R value of 4 or higher. So that's called an all season, which generally means somewhere else in the world where you do get winter. But this will do for anywhere in Perth, anywhere in WA. This mat will be absolutely brilliant. I'm going to say all season, let's just say for all of Australia, because we don't really get too many alpine conditions. Of course, there are alpine areas within Victoria and Tasmania and New South Wales. If you are looking at snow camping, this probably isn't going to do you for that scenario, but it'll do for pretty much anywhere else. That's why I went for the Nemo Tensor Insulated, because I think currently 4.2, it's one of the lightest. It's not a budget-friendly mat at all. This mat cost me $299 from Paddy Pallin's at full retail. I'm a Paddy Pallin's member, so I actually got that for $269, which gives you basically 10% off, and it gets you access to sweet sales that they do. So because I wanted to get a second mat, I wanted to get a lighter, more streamlined mat. So the reason I wanted to get this mat is because I think this is the ultimate mat if you want to go ultralight in Australia, because it's going to suit 99% of all of our conditions as far as insulating properties go. I'm 178 centimeters, I'm 48 centimeters shoulder to shoulder, so I fit just within the parameters of this mat. I'm going to show you how this pumps up and how it looks with me on it, so you get a good reference point on whether or not this is going to be a good mat for you. Okay, so here we've got the pump sack, and now we've got the Nemo Tensor Insulated Ultralight Mummy 2022 version. As I said, this pump sack's huge. There is so much volume to this, and I'll show you. So, on the Nemo Insulated, you've got these two valves. The top valve is so that you can start inflating it, and there's a secondary valve, which is your dump valve or your deflate valve, and that's how you dump all your air out. So we want to keep that one on. And something I've found using this pump sack and the mat, this is a super tight seal, so when you're removing the pump sack, you've got to be very careful to hold the tab. Hold the tab there on whilst you remove these. I'll show you what I mean, because or else you just dump all of the air that you just put in. So as you might be able to hear, this uses that alfoil, that thin foil to insulate. There are two layers of this. But when this actually is inflated, it's suspended throughout the middle of the mat. So the crinkling doesn't really play any factor. Now, I've never really had an issue with the Cedar Summit. A lot of people have an issue with how it sounds against your tent floor. And a lot of people have a lot of other issues with many other mats with that crinkling noise. I personally don't, but this one, as far as I'm aware, is actually one of the quietest mats, especially at this high R value. Now, to inflate, Vortex pump sack, hold this about 10 centimeters away from your mouth, which opens up. We've got one pump, got two pumps, we go, not even 3 pumps. So now, as I said, you gotta hold onto this top valve as you pull that off, or else you just dump that completely. Put the top valve back on, and there you have it. Let's have a look. So my head right at the top here. Still got a little bit of room at the bottom. Cross the shoulders. My arms still stay on. Now if you're inside a mummy sleeping bag, that'll keep your arms nice and close to you. I've got a quilt because I will sleep a lot of the time on my side. This is a 3-inch thick mat. My hip doesn't get into the ground whatsoever, neither does it on my shoulder. And that is going to be beautifully comfortable for me. So if you've got any, thoughts or concerns about the width of the mat, I wouldn't. The height of the mat, I'm probably right at the limit for it. You wouldn't want to be much over 6 foot. If you are, your feet are of course going to be hanging over the edge, but if you've got a really well insulated sleeping bag or quilt, that's not going to be a big issue for you anyway. So yeah, I'm 178 centimeters, 48 centimeters across. That's how I look on the mat. Hopefully that gives you a good reference point for you. And as you can hear, only if you're bending it that way can you hear that foil crinkling. Apart from that, being on it made no sound whatsoever for the insulation. So really quiet mat, super comfortable mat. I'm really looking forward to trying it out this winter. There you have it, the Nemo Tensor Insulated Mummy 2022 version, R-value of 4.2. I think it's going to be one of the best mats for you in Australia right now. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, make sure you hit like and subscribe. That'd be terrific. Thank you very much for watching. Hoskins Hikes. See you on the next one.